Like this? Everyone happy? Okay.
We'll check just the phone for you.
With the outbreak of the war in Iran and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and the resulting increase in energy, mainly oil and gas prices, what does the European Union intend to do to protect the citizens of its member state?
So clearly this is being felt for citizens all over Europe, right? If you're fueling up your car, if you're heating up your home, and potentially we're looking at a more broader recession, which will also immediately affect the shopping basket and everything we pay for. So in a really short run, we are giving member states the opportunity to lower their taxes, to lower what we call the networking costs, basically to drive down at least a bit of the increase of the prices. If you look at the long run, the only way out of this nightmare is to make sure we become more energy independent. We as a continent are just, we don't have oil, we don't have gas, and we need to make sure, both from a climate perspective and an independence perspective, that we get more renewables, so more sun and wind, more battery capacity, more electrification, more nuclear, just to make sure that the next time we are not at the mercy of what others are doing across the globe.
Regarding climate diplomacy and the USA void, can European Union lead climate diplomacy and China is either a partner or a rival for us?
So look, the fact that the US is checking out, of course, comes with significant damage, because the US simply is the most potent player geopolitically across the globe. It is the largest economic powerhouse that we have, and it is the second largest emitter. So of course that does huge damage, particularly because 94% of all emissions are taking place outside of Europe. But this is something we cannot influence. This is something the US has decided. So the only thing we can do is make sure we are effective in our diplomacy with others. As for China, it is a combination, right? On the one hand, China has been doing a phenomenal job at home in terms of electrification. At the same time, they're also planning to build tens and tens and tens of new coal plants, and they're using their electrification sales to also make us more dependent, and they're not nearly respecting a level playing field. So that truly is a mixed bag, and that asks for a different approach also from the European Union.
And talking about the energy scenario and the competitiveness of the European Union, in the sector of oil and energy in general, USA and China are indeed top players. Can the European Union, and how can the European Union be competitive? And do you think there are any other players, such as Russia or India?
So we're never going to fall into the trap of buying this stuff from Russia anymore, right? Because we've been explaining to ourselves for decades that they were a reliable partner, and that was true until it was no longer true. And they started to basically blackmail us with that in 2022. So we need to do a couple of things. First, we need to diversify where we get the stuff from. We're now getting much more LNG from the US, but also from Qatar and a couple of other places. But there is an opportunity to diversify even further. In the long run, as I just said, the only way forward is more electrification, more solar, more wind, more storage capacity, so batteries, and also more nuclear, because that is all stuff we can manage inside of the European Union. It will drive prices down, it will make us less dependent, and it is way better for climate, so it ticks all the right boxes.
Commissioner, artificial intelligence is going to be the technology of the century, but we all know that it comes with high risks when we talk about environment and pollution. How can the European Union be a leader in this sector despite all this?
So what it will do is it will indeed take much more energy simply in order to function. Frankly speaking, that is not my biggest worry about AI. This comes with phenomenal opportunities, but potentially also with quite significant risks in terms of safety and security. And in any case, it will come with much more disruption than most people anticipate. Because in the long run, particularly if you marry AI with robotics, it's hard to see how many jobs will be performed in a superior way by humans. And I mean, the jury is out, we don't know. But it could also be the case that, different than in previous revolutions, it's not the case that this will be replaced by other jobs that then will be done by humans. So, in any case, this will come with a lot of disruption in our societies and at the labor market. Maybe not in the next couple of years, but certainly in the slightly longer run.
Sure. Switching the topic for a minute, a recent investigation by the Washington Post revealed that Hungary may have leaked some sensitive information about Europe to Russia. How does the European Union respond to this?
So what is crystal clear to me is that unity and integrity, particularly vis-à-vis our adversaries, is absolutely key in this union, right? You can only talk about a union if everyone plays by the same rules. The reality, unfortunately, is that in many ways the European Union was created as a community for good weather sailing. We're not very well equipped against people who want to derail the system, and we're also not as well equipped as I would like to in terms of crises. We're doing a much better job, but at the same time the number of events that we are confronted with on a global scale only goes up. So we need more speed and more power of decision making. That is what I would wish for Europe as a whole.
Last year in Brussels, you mentioned the possibility to implement a Marshall Plan Act for energy. How will the funding work for this project?
So basically what I said is let's double down on electrification. And again, that means renewables. It means also interconnectors between the various countries in the European Union. It means storage capacity. It simply means more grid capacity, and that is going to cost us money. A part of that is going to be national money. A part of that needs to be European money. And part of that, in my view, also needs to be a private sector funding that we allow into the system, just to make sure that we deliver here again with sufficient speed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.